begin in Washington. Ross, what's the latest with Terry McLaurin?
Yeah, both sides seem dug in on this contract dispute. Terry, as you see here, is at camp. He's not practicing. He comes out at the end of practice and signs autographs. The fans chant, Terry, Terry. And his agent is there. They talk. It's a whole thing. But right now, there's a significant, as I've been told, a significant gulf between the sides in terms of what they want to pay him and what he wants to be paid. And right now he is waiting until that gets done to start getting on the practice field. Boy, I tell you, they miss him, though. Without him, the offense is going to look a lot different.
RC, bad. I was going to ask you about McLaurin, but Dano.
Oh, we're going to get to that.
Trey Hendrickson, similar situation to McLaurin. He's at camp, not practicing, wants a new deal. They continue to have conversations. And, I mean, this is the kind of thing where Hendrickson seems like he wants to be there. They seem like they want him there. There's probably an end result here at some point soon where this gets resolved. But to this point, it is not. And much like the McLaurin situation in Washington, Cincinnati's defense really could use this guy because they don't have an established edge rusher otherwise. August 4th, a lot of contract.
Enough of contract dispute theater. Let's talk football or injury talk. All right, guys, what's the latest on Stafford?
Matthew Stafford also not practicing, but for a very different reason. His back has been sore. The Rams are trying to manage him, as I understand it, through camp. Sean McVay has called him week to week. McVay spoke last night. He said, I want to make sure and get this right. He said Stafford's doing static throwing. He said, we are looking forward to getting him and easing him back into football, hopefully in the near future. Now, look, the Rams deserve the benefit of the doubt. They've managed situations like this with Matthew Stafford and other guys through camp. Until you see him on the field, you're not going to feel fantastic, but it doesn't sound at this time like they're worried about Matthew Stafford.
Before this side of the table just says, it's no big deal, which is what we might get.
I should probably go to that side.
Come on,
I feel the same way.
Make the case for why a Rams fan. Make the case for why a Rams fan might want to be a little concerned.
I feel like I'm a GM again, and here we go. I got really broad shoulders. So.
Who do you want him to draft?
Who should they trade for?
I can't believe they didn't take Shedeur.
You guys are all overpaid. Come up to my office. We'll do some paperwork.
Maybe we can trade for Jordan Love and Justin Herbert.
All right, look.
Come on, tell us.
All right. He hasn't played a full season since 2021. I know he's going to be fine. I know he knows the system. But when you have Davante Adams, you want reps. And going through the rigors of a 17-game season, I want my quarterback out at training camp. I know that's crazy in this day and age that I actually want my quarterback to practice. So
just like you wanted Aaron Rodgers for the offseason program as well.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
Yeah, because I want a chance to win a championship, and I know when my other quarterbacks are in camp. You can stay there. That's
I like that. No.
Stay over there.
He made a compelling case. And Dan, obviously, you played with Stafford. I would just, we all know McVay, and he's been very clear that, they don't do preseason games. They're looking to win in February.
Yeah.
Does Mike not have a point, though, that, hey, I'd at least like to see my quarterback throw a football in August?
Thank you.
No, respectfully, it's August. This team's trying to play in February. And I remember, hearing the Colts long ago when they were with Peyton Manning and going on their runs. And, their off-season, everybody would start their off-season in March. And the Colts would have, some analytical date, a thing of if you played X amount of snaps during the season, you wouldn't start your off-season program till some point in April or May. I think there's a very similar philosophy of August. I understand reps matter, no doubt. Matthew Stafford and Davante Adams could line up on the field today. What are you going to run? 20-yard comeback, and that ball will be on the face, and Davante will catch it, tiptoe on the sideline, and be fine. So I just believe that those guys have thousands of reps themselves, and they'll be fine. I truly, truly believe that this is a non-thing, and he will be fine.
I think you're probably right. But I also remember an offseason where the Colts said Andrew Luck was going to be fine, and then he retired. So I was taught long ago as a reporter covering sports. I get it. I was taught long ago covering. Don't underplay the injury because the team will always do that. Am I wrong?
You're all right.
Right. So I think at this point, the right way to look at this is the Rams deserve the benefit of the doubt. Matthew Stafford deserves the benefit of the doubt because we've seen this before. But let's see him on the field before we start
while
feeling
the
great
Eagles
about it.
are doing contact drills and tackling in practice, we're just being told to chill out. It's cool. We're going to think about February. Is that arrogant from the Rams, or should they at least be thinking, hey, you know what? Maybe we should force Stafford to play, considering he almost wasn't our quarterback this past offseason?
Well, I think the first thing is you don't force Matthew Stafford to play, right? You understand that Matthew Stafford is one of the tougher players we have seen
in this era. Some of the things this man has played through and been able to play well through has earned him an opportunity to heal in the proper way. I was there last week. And I talked to Devontae about, hey, man, if you don't get the reps with Matthew, how does it work? He said, well, he'll see me win over time. And as we play together, we'll get to the point to where we feel that. So there is something to be said about the chemistry that those two need. But talking to Sean McVay, he said, man, we are going to be smart about this. It's something that came around. It's something that he's feeling. We feel like we have a chance to be really good this year, but you're only really good if Matthew Stafford is the quarterback. And let's not waste those reps or have him injure himself more in camp when he's not fully feeling like he can go out and produce.
Because we have video evidence about the relationship between Jimmy Garoppolo and Devontae Adams.
Hey, my dog said it's better.
He played it down. He said
it's better.
He said he loves Jimmy G. I saw that. What do you got?
Yeah, no, look, I don't mean to be an alarmist. One of the things RC said I think is really important, which is their chemistry is going to improve as the season goes on. We know the difference between home field advantage or not. If they had played Philly in the Rams, I think all five of us are sitting there thinking, hey, they beat the Eagles. So
they should start one of those two rookies, Shedeur Sanders or Dillon Gabriel. Listen, I understand Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett there. They're going to be good enough to get you 7, 8, 9 wins and make you competent as a football team this year. Kevin Stefanski as the head coach, yes, probably needs to win. But I want Dillon Gabriel, I want Shedeur Sanders, one of those guys to show me, hey, did we strike lightning and find a starting quarterback in this draft and not have to use one of those 2 first-rounders of next?
A lot of hype around the NFC North, but Dano, you have a possible NFC contender that not everyone's talking about. Who is it?
If J.J. McCarthy, average quarterback, the Minnesota Vikings are legitimate NFC Championship and Super Bowl contenders. This is a organization that's got one of the best rosters in football. They're going to be top 5, top 7 at both sides of the line of scrimmage, offensive and defensive lines. Best receiver in football, one of, in Justin Jefferson, and a top 5 coaching duo in Kevin O'Connell and Brian Flores. How much they ask him to do throwing will be very important. He threw about 25 passes per game at Michigan. He'll need to do that more in the NFL. But they are legit in Minnesota.
Can you win with a guy being told just throw 25 passes, rely on everyone
Throughout
else?
the season, absolutely. Playoffs, different story.
Okay. Your last one. Give us a Cowboys take that we haven't heard yet.
You can make the case that this is the best supporting cast Dak Prescott has had since his rookie year. And his rookie year was awesome. One of the great offensive lines of all time. Des Bryant was in his prime, all that. But for a quarterback that's comfortable throwing into tight windows, and a receiver in George Pickens that's comfortable making catches in tight windows, I think that duo is going to be really, really, really good. CeeDee Lamb is one of the best wide receivers in football. This should be a top 10 offensive line. And then Jake Ferguson, newly signed, is one of the best tight ends in football. This is a really, really dynamic offensive group in Dallas.
We are at this point right now in Dallas in the Micah Parsons situation. We are at the audio of the fans portion of the contract dispute. Here are fans at Cowboys practice on Saturday, and you could hear how vocal they were about the Micah Parsons situation. Take a listen. This was partially a response as I get back here at the table. A little slower than Greeny, I think. That was partially a response to what our guy said, Jerry Jones, last week, that, like, I heard him louder for CD and for Dak than I did for Michael. Well, they let their voices be heard. Mike T, you're our resident GM. Let's talk about an actual trade package.
There we go.
If we were to consider it.
This is going to be great.
How much would it take? I mean, this is a guy who's going
gonna be great.
into the final year of his contract. He is at the prime of his career, and he's arguably the best defensive player in football.
Yeah, well, first of all, this will never happen, so let me just...
Why do you say that? There's a trade request made, and Jerry doesn't seem to want to bend.
Here's what I think we have to be into November, because Jerry Jones has owned the Cowboys since, 1989? Emmitt Smith missed 2 games. We've talked about CD. Yeah. Like, I just don't think he's hardwired to trade a star, Peter, in the prime of his career. For football reasons, and I can't imagine... Look, we did see it eventually with Jalen Ramsey in Jacksonville, but I think the 5 of us would have to be sitting here in November for this to ever happen. But what I said was, and Graz mentioned Buffalo the other day, I was thinking 3 number 1 picks, James Cook and maybe Ed Oliver. Does that get Buffalo to the Super Bowl?
That's a lot.
I know. I'm not saying I would do that if I was. I'm just saying, like, those are the things that it would. Here's what I would do to take it behind the curtain If I was the Cowboys, I would say give me your highest and best offer from every team by close of business today, and I'll let you know tomorrow, and see what they would do. Who would pay that bill? With Washington, with Buffalo, it would take multiple first-round picks and one or two really good young players for Dallas to consider it. And then if I'm the Cowboys, to close the gap with Philadelphia and Washington, I would actually consider it.
I remember covering Khalil Mack's holdout a few years back, and like it was like Watergate every day. We had an update, like here's the latest on Khalil Mack. It ended up happening.
Yes, it did.
And he was arguably the best defensive player in football, and they got 2 first-round picks. RC, should Jerry Jones actually consider shopping Micah Parsons?
Well, I think the first thing we have to understand is what's Jerry Jones' priority. If his priority is team building over building wealth, then absolutely not. Jerry Jones understands that Micah Parsons is not only the best player on this defense, he's the player that everyone follows defensively.
Sure.
And so you have to figure out a way to keep him in the locker room. Jerry Jones hasn't had a trade like this, though, in the season or off-season since, I would say, Herschel Walker. Herschel Walker was probably the last person who could move the needle for the Dallas Cowboys.
And that was Jimmy pushing it.
Yeah, that was traded away. And so for me, this deal gets worked out with Micah Parsons, but I'm with Dan. Why does it have to get to this point? Why would Micah Parsons have to publicly say himself that he wants a trade? Let's think about Myles Garrett. Even the Myles Garrett trade, it was Myles Garrett has requested a trade. It was Terry McLaurin has requested a trade. We were hearing rumblings of T.J. Watt not being happy. We've never had a player, or we haven't had a player of this caliber say it on his own and say it in such an emphatic way.
Could this just be oil and water that Jerry likes to be the biggest star in town? Micah's got a podcast. He doesn't like the fact that Micah's got a platform. He doesn't. Is there a chance
that's a problem.
Okay, problem or not, why is it so off the table that Jerry might be like, you know what? If they could trade Anthony Davis and get Luke, like, why can't I just make another massive deal like I did with Herschel Walker in '89?
If they trade him, and I don't think they do, if they trade him, it declares the Dak Prescott era over.
Why would you say that?
Because this team has no shot of winning a Super Bowl without Micah Parsons. No shot. And if you're doing it, it's to acquire a ton of first-round picks so you have the ammunition to go get an Arch Manning of the future. There's no way that Jerry Jones, I don't care, this is said as respectfully as possible, there's no way that you can go to your locker room with Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb and some of the first-round picks that you have on your offensive line and Trayvon Diggs and be like, hey, go beat Philadelphia when you don't have Micah Parsons. Go beat the Rams when you don't have Micah Parsons. Your locker room will sit there and go like, oh, well, you've obviously moved on, so we're going to start our process of moving on as well. So if they do it, it declares that that era is over. I don't think they will eventually, though.
Among NFL owners, there are very few that are as of the system as Jerry Jones, right? Jerry Jones would almost certainly tell you, okay, we have 2 franchise tags we can use. If he really doesn't want to sign, I'll franchise him next year. I'll franchise him the year after. He'll make something like $79 million over the next 3 years.
Dude, that's such a slippery slope, though.
I understand that, but he did it with Dak Prescott. Remember, Dak played on a franchise tag.
He did.
And then they franchised him again right before they did a deal. So I'm telling you, like, he's not getting traded. He's not getting traded. It would have to get a heck of a lot uglier than it already is.